You're listening to the Journey Podcast. Are you curious about the profound ways in which sacred intimacy can nurture emotional healing, cultivate spiritual growth, and foster a deeper sense of connection and well-being? Join us for today's evocative episode. This episode contains adult subject matter and listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we explore the transformative journey of sacred intimacy, exploring the role of Tantric embodiment in discovering our own sexuality. Our guest shares enlightening perspectives on how engaging with Tantra can unlock our passion and joy, serving as a gateway to a profound understanding of ourselves. We delve into how tantric practices can enrich our lives beyond the bedroom, illustrating that embracing our sexuality can lead to greater fulfillment and harmony. Join us in this intimate exploration of how sacred intimacy and Tantra can elevate our sense of self and enrich our journey towards happiness and well-being. Sasha Lipskaia, MA and ICF, is an intuitive guide, spiritual coach, and sacred intimacy mentor to soul-driven leaders who want to experience deeper love and devotion, serve their higher purpose, and embody their worth with power, integrity, and faith. Sasha's work is anchored in tantric embodiment, sacred sexuality, and energetic healing so that her clients can get clarity on their true selves, reconnect to their intuition, and harmonize with their masculine and feminine energies to unleash their potential and learn to lead with their hearts while healing their nervous system. Here is my interview with Sasha Lipskaia. Hi, Sasha. It's sort of great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because sacred intimacy is such an intriguing topic for today's conversation. I can't wait to dive in. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, Petra, thank you. That was such a delicious introduction. Your voice, I'm just like, ooh, I'm excited to talk to you about sacred intimacy. I feel like we're going to have a very juicy conversation.
Yes, I agree. You can probably tell by the big smile on my face. So do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your story and maybe let listeners know what you do and how you came to do what you do today?
Yes, I would love to invite everybody listening to just tap into the one thing they've always known to be true, and that it really is where you start, right? Like, what is the one thing? And I'm saying that because I get chills when I say that. So it's not about a certain story, right? It's this moment, the truth that I know now is the same truth I knew when I was 2 or 4 or 5, right? Before I had an idea of who it is that I'm supposed to be or who it is that I think I am, right? And that to me is the story, really. It's the story of my connection to my soul. And I have always known that I am not alone in this world, that there is something that is within me and also around me, right? So it's me and it's not, that I can be in direct contact with and actually hear and fully receive from guidance, resources, support, essentially love, right? Love. That's what it is. Like that intimacy, that presence of intimacy when you're with your partner, right? If you are in a union with someone or you have a close friend or a child, right? Or a parent, you forget everything about yourself. And yet you know everything about yourself, right? You know the only thing that matters about you, which is your heart, but you don't remember your name, your age. You're not thinking about what you know, what you learn, right? Where you studied. Before we went on the podcast, we talked a little bit about, degrees and certifications, our love, right? For learning and accumulating knowledge. And also so that we could go deeper into the knowledge that is inherent in us, right? And that a lot of the time does need refining and training and absolutely schooling, which you and I both, again, have a lot of respect for and still to this day continue doing as we pursue our vision of a PhD program. So all this to say that I, without any knowledge, have always known that there is a presence in me and that presence actually exists in other people. Like I could tap into their hearts, right? So when I would be in presence of someone else, I could feel, right, that union, that sacred union, that intimacy between myself and them that had nothing to do with our relationship, so to speak, right? And it could have been even from a relationship that was somewhat even distorted, right? Or hard and painful. But right, that's where compassion, understanding, love, unconditional love, I could feel their heart. And I know that is not most people's experience, right? So I realize, and we can look at it different ways, that my soul, and this is how I see it, chose, this lifetime to experience that, right? And it's not that it's not available to you or anyone else. And this is what I work with people on. My clients come to me to essentially reconnect to their experience of the divine in their bodies, in their partners, in their work, right? Their connection to the divine. You can call it God, the universe, unconditional love, truth. To me, it is God, but it's not a male deity sitting on a cloud, right? It's that experience of the totality of like just this absolutely like you can't control it, you can't understand it, but it's the experience of something is here and it loves me. Right. And that is through what lens I could see someone else. Right. So I could feel their heart and I could hear them. And I remember even at a young age, people would speak to me like adults and they would, ask me certain questions and then they would reflect to my parents. So, this child is saying these really interesting, deep things. And eventually I realized that people would come to me, not even so much for, they wouldn't come for entertainment. They wouldn't come because I was so cool. Like I was very much an outcast and a loner. And again, my life was set up in a way that I had the space, right? I had the support, so to speak, to actually really experience this over a long period of time so that I could feel that this is actually the truth. Like I am always being guided. People come to me because they could feel that within me. And it's not that I would guide them through, something I had and they didn't. It's that I would see that in them, right? And I would speak directly to that. I would answer their questions or I would reflect to them or I would share with them from that place. And I feel now that I know what I know and that I practice, coaching and the space holding that I do and the tantric work that I do and embodiment, healing, you can call it, right? All it is my capacity, right? To be that instrument, to be that presence, to be that container of love and consciousness to really help someone else. And I will say help really, because it is what it is. Help someone else experience that within themselves, right? That's what it is. So I came to this work through a variety of ways. Like I had parallel lives. I was an actor. I still consider myself to be an artist. I feel like that's my primary archetype. I'm an artist. I'm a creator, which we all are, right? But I knew that from a very young age. I wanted to tell stories. And today I was thinking, man, I'm reading this book on Tantra and understanding, again, just the idea of goddess, right? Again, the concept of the goddess and goddess worship and the Hindu tradition and the Buddhist tradition, really understanding the core of what it is, right? It's just an experience of energy, right? That's what it is. And so, but speaking to my experience without any of this, when I was little, my favorite subject, and I was somehow in a school where this was a subject in Russia, was Greek mythology. And so storytelling, right? Now I knew all the goddesses and the gods and the pantheon, right? I knew the myths. This is before I knew about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, right? And the psychology of storytelling and our understanding of humanity and its evolution and consciousness, right? And spirituality, the religion, culture. I didn't know any of that, but I knew there was something to the stories of these gods and goddesses and mortals and what they were actually helping me discover within myself, my yearning for love, my yearning for connection, again, my yearning for truth, my yearning for devotion to something greater than me. And coming from a place of, and this is really important, self-awareness, self-worth, and power. Like it was never something that I experienced from a place of, something greater than me is telling me what to do and I'm afraid of it, or it wants something from me that I don't want to give. No, it was always you, we're one, right? But I'm human and I need to receive something from you to live a good life, right? To live a fulfilled life, to live a life of service and joy, right? Like that feeling of I'm here for, like, say now, you came here to thrive. You didn't come here like, to survive and then fight for some kind of experience of bliss. No, bliss is your nature, and you didn't come for crumbs. You came to feast, right? But here's the gift. It's not feasting on the world. You are the feast. You are the feast. The world gets to feast on your gifts. You get to feast on the manifestation of them in the world as you receive whatever it is you need. Support, guidance, resources, right? A home, whatever it is that you need in this life. So it's a consistent, constant, right? Endless just exchange of energy moving between you and the world. So that's actually the essence of Tantra. Now, my journey acting, I became an academic eventually, right? I studied feminism and I wanted to understand the interpersonal psychological experience of the feminine specifically and the masculine. I wanted to go deeper into just deciphering philosophy from psychology, right? And again, mythology and storytelling. And I also ended up working in social work for a little bit. And so I worked with at-risk youth, and I became an actual caretaker in a home. And so a lot of things came to me that eventually led me, this was 12 years ago, to really hear the call to not just study spirituality and learn and just feel like, oh, I didn't really feel like I needed to learn, right? But I just knew. And then I realized, well, yes. And if I'm going to answer the call, which somebody reflected to me, like you have a gift for something that you're not actually doing in a way of claiming it. Right? People come to you, they ask for advice, this happens, that happens, but you're not actually claiming it as an active participant in this, right? You're not saying I'm here to do this. So I claimed it and I first studied coaching. It was one of the simplest way for me to go into the healing realm without feeling like I needed to go into a box, right? Because I still did not resonate, and I still don't, with a lot of the psychological modalities, just because I felt that it was more about, again, the past, and psychology is changing. And I know that, and that's really beautiful. At the time, though, I was like, well, I don't want to talk about the past, and I don't want to talk about what's wrong with people. I don't think anything's wrong with people, right? I knew that. It's like, I want to talk about the truth, and I want to talk about what's blocking their experience of the truth, right? And that, again, coaching is a beautiful modality, as you might know, because it just opens up the conversation of what's possible from the truth of the heart of the person in front of you, right? And then, of course, I took it deeper, and I started studying then embodiment practices. And this is where my, acting training really came in. It's like, oh, wow, all of this work that I've done, I'm so in my body. I experience ways in, people that people might not be able to, I can teach them, right? I can help them connect physically to their heart, to their womb, right? To their nervous system in a way that maybe, right, they can't, but not do it in a clinical way, do it in an experiential way. And also, that's the only way to learn. You have to experience it. And also then apply the knowledge that I have been developing in a clinical way, right? The coaching I studied recently, I started really looking into, again, archetypes and understanding how to work, Jung's work, rediscovering, again, what psychology, right? Real transpersonal, humanistic based psychology stands for, and the opportunities there, internal family systems, right? All of this work, like, oh, wow, this is the same. We're coming together, right? Modern science, ancient wisdom. That's what the Greeks were doing. And when they had a performance in the oracle would speak the God's truth, they would channel through something that would reflect, right, to the people, the truth that's being guided, right, through whatever the oracle was saying. But it was for them, right? It wasn't to oppress them. And so in essence, we're always looking for the divine. Right. And it's not that in the temple, and I, have many religious traditions that I've lived, and I bring that in, again, very fortunate. I'd never felt oppressed by them. There was Christianity, there was Judaism. I'm, really, really inspired by Sufi, poets and writers, and, Islam, and just anything and everything. Right. And then finding Tantra, I realized that, back to my background, because of the way that I'm set up, I'd always felt a resistance to that wisdom, to that technology, because I knew very little about it. Most people don't, right? It's just, oh, Tantra is sex, or Tantra is orgies, or Tantra is something weird over there, and it's something to do with yoga, but not really. So Tantra is a science, and it's called a pathless path for a reason. It's the experience of the truth of your divinity. And the technology, right, within your body, which is your intuition. And then again, my background is I ended up actually teaching intuitive development, and intuitive coaching became one of the things that I really started applying. So using my intuition as an actual tool in practice. and helping my clients obviously develop it, which I realized, yes, that's part of the experience, the truth of you, right? Experience the divinity of you. All of these gifts start coming online. Everybody has them. It's like, oh, I can speak. Oh, I can sing. Oh, I can move my body. Oh, I am free to express my fullness. And that is what anyone and everyone in this world actually wants, right? Can I be loved for who I am? And can I give the gift of me as who I am so that I could receive the love that I'm looking for, both. So that's what I do now as an intuitive guide. And sacred intimacy plays in the sense that it's everything, right? That what I said to you, what is true. My connection to the divine is that sacred intimacy within my body with something that isn't me and yet is. And then the capacity I have now to understand how that plays into our intimate relationships and how they are the ground. And this is where Tantra, one part of Tantra comes in, because Tantra embraces everything. So this is the work I do now, is understanding that my rejection of it came from a misunderstanding, right? A misconception of one of the greatest tools in human experience. And one of the only things that really I feel brings us immediately to the experience of the divine in our bodies is our sexuality, because that's our capacity to create, right? Our capacity to birth and manifest. That's our sexual energy, right? And that in Tantric tradition is the goddess, right? That is her, that's the feminine. And so when I understood that that is like the essence of who we are, is that capacity to birth and create and love, and that our sexuality is actually our path to the divine, when we're aware and able to work with it and master that sexual energy and embrace it and work through the shame, the rejection, just all of the wounds that come with it. Again, not by accident, all of it set up. How cool is it to control people, right? By taking away the one thing they have that connects them to the divine. Tell them sex is dirty and shameful, right? Like, great, perfect, right? So remove them, right, from the experience of divinity in themselves. So that's what we're seeing, again, a lot in Western culture. And even when we bring in certain modalities, there is still this resistance, which it wasn't me, right? It's like, oh, but so when I realized that my path, which includes, celibacy, and there was, sexual violence, and there was a lot of shame, and still is, I still work with it every day because it's a human experience. And when I realized those were actually gifts for me to go through that journey of complete rejection, in a way, of my power. I still did my work. I was very capable. I was successful at everything I did. And there was maybe 80% of me blocked because I was not allowing my body, although I was so embodied, and it was so blocked, to connect to that part of me that could actually really channel the truth of my heart, which meant reclaiming my womb space, reclaiming my desire, reclaiming my femininity and my masculine capacity. And that's where, Tantra found me, so to speak. And I started studying it more deeply and with a lot more reverence. And I understood, wow, this is not for everyone, right? Not everybody has to, but for me, it was one of the greatest ways to incorporate everything I've done and have a very clear understanding of how I can use really specific practices. And this is important. And experiential practices, right? For people, for clients, for myself, for people that I teach, that follow me, to understand, experience, embody, integrate, really live their capacity to actually know the truth of their hearts and transmit it and let it guide every single part of their life, right? Which is a daily practice. How do you learn what instrument you are? How do you learn to play your own instrument? How do you then devote your life to performing, in a way, right? The music that only you can, every single day, purifying, clarifying, deepening, and opening your power, because that's the point of your life. So it's never over. Hello, welcome. And it becomes joyful and incredibly inspiring and so satisfying, because you realize that's actually what I'm here for. Every relationship, every path, everything in my life is set up so that I experience more of the instrument that I am, and the art, the music, right? Just the love, that love really that I'm here to give, the unique frequency of that, which can only come through me. And that manifests my life, right? So when I know how to do that, well, then I'm a conscious co-creator of my life. And also that involves complete and total surrender and trust, right? That is something that will create through you only when you surrender, trust, and actually commit to working with it instead of trying to control it. Like, I'm going to manifest this. You could, we know it works. Will it satisfy you? Will it actually give you that experience? What I just said? No, it will lead you like a carrot on a stick somewhere you don't want to go, so that you're like, oh crap, right? My ego, or you want to call it whatever, psychic impression came in and just distracted me so that I remember the truth. No, 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 no. Oh my God. Oh my God. There's something in my heart I don't even know how to hear yet. Okay, well, let's start there. Let's start there. Right. And so I work with desire a lot now that I do this work professionally. Like, I can claim it. Yes, I'm a sacred intimacy coach. What does that mean? Help you tap into the truth of your heart, your womb, your gut. So this is your intuition, right? This is your capacity to create and really understand what you want, how you want to move towards it and create it consciously in integrity, right? And with complete awareness that everything about what you're doing is about you loving yourself. That's what this is about. And transmitting that into the world, right? So that you become that healing energy for others, that medicine, without trying to save, control, fix, right? Like, just, again, come out of your body to try to fix something out there and actually lose the one thing you're here to bring. This is the hero's journey, right? Bring the fire. You are the fire. Come out of the cave with the fire. You don't slay the dragon, you ride it out of the cave, right? And then you go back, right? It's like, we'll do it again. But then you're more powerful, you're more skilled, right? So it becomes an actual, which it is, a sacred game, right? Of you and the divine, creating a better world, because that's what you're here for, from within yourself, while taking responsibility for the world that you are absolutely here to live in and contribute to and receive from. So that's sacred intimacy in a nutshell.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that journey and dive into sacred intimacy, because I think a lot of the listeners might not really know what that is or what it involves. So that's really interesting to hear about that. And where do you usually start with your clients? So if they come to you and they're maybe a little bit like you were in the beginning, resistant to it or disconnected from their sexuality even, where do you start with them on that path to self-love and to just opening up to the possibilities of that and kind of feeling that embodied self-love within them? Where do you start with that?
Everybody that comes to me, I'll say it right away, already knows that that's what they want, right? So that's primary. They have to be open to receive, right? So they want to experience that power within them, and they want to experience it not so much because they want to use it out there, but because they want to feel, right? Again, that connection to something that literally just makes their life worth living, right? And I always start with the heart, right? Always start with the heart being the vortex that will show me, right? Is their heart blocked? Which for a lot of people it is, right? It's not that, again, I say this so much because it's so important. Your heart is broken because you're human. Like, that's the path of the spiritual warrior. Like, your heart will be broken, and it must be broken so that you can expand your capacity to love, which is your power. And in that, you become, in a sense, completely protected, right? Completely, because anahata, this is the heart chakra, right? It actually means unstruck. Like, you can't be hurt. You will bleed, right? Your heart will break more and more and more, like going to the gym. Yes, your muscles will keep ripping so that you can grow more of your capacity to withstand certain challenges and give more of yourself. And it's the blockage of the heart, right, that limits us. It's not that it's broken, it's that it's blocked, it's closed, because we feel that the only way to be safe in this world is to close our hearts. And so I start with the experience of you and your heart. So tell me, Petra, right now, can you feel your heart?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can feel my heart.
Breath into it?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Just making a sound like, ah.
Yeah. I can not just feel it physically beating, but I can feel a connection of it just feeling very open and actually very content and loved, which is kind of interesting when you say that. But yeah.
Yeah. So now you have given it voice. You've allowed your body to produce vibrations that have acknowledged your experience of the truth, right? That's all. That's what you did. But in that, you started embodying that truth in a different way. And your transmission, you're like an antenna, right? The waves went through your body and they are now being transmitted. I can feel them. So this is where we start, right? So you can say, oh, I feel it or I don't feel it. And let's become a transmission of what you're actually experiencing so that you can deepen your understanding of your experience and you can understand even deeper of what's required, right, of you to then use, very much use the power in your heart, which is your intuition, right? Your heart reads energy. So then we start here. If reading energy and you're transmitting it, that's your transmitter. And therefore you're receiving this guidance at all times that then goes into your central column. And this is my understanding. This is my experience. There are different ways of looking at it. But, in the tradition that I'm being trained in and that I've been training, and I feel like my whole life, that central column is that part of your body between the front and the back, right? You call it the intuitive channel. It's an actual physical space in your body that will allow for this energy to move through and communicate, right, with your psyche. Oh, this is what the world, right, is wanting from me. This is what I need to give to the world. This is what, and this is intuition, right? This is what the divine is literally saying through me to me, right? And that starts in your heart. Now, the important part to know, and this is where Tantra is so important, and we're talking about sacred sexuality, right? Sacred intimacies. Your sexual energy, right, lives not in your heart, it lives in your sexual organs, right? In your root chakra, you can say in your sacral chakra, right? Like the lower part of your body from which most of us are incredibly disconnected. So not only is our heart blocked, we then literally cut off this connection to our lower bodies. Obviously, our lifestyle, again, I don't think surprisingly, right, allows for that. We sit all day, right? When we move, it's very much like sporadic. Let's go to the gym and move very linearly. We don't actually feel the flow of energy through our bodies. If anything, we want to punish it, right? Let me strengthen my legs or let me lose some weight or let me look like this person, right? It's aesthetic, it's superficial, it's not wrong, right? But we're not actually going into the depths of the instrument that we are. And so our lower chakras, right? For those who know chakra systems, there are different ways of looking at them again, but the lower part of our bodies houses our identity, our sense of belonging, our safety, our creativity, our power, right? Our sense of self and our capacity to create, right? So then what I start with is, we connect to the heart, we feel the heart. And more often than not, that blockage in the heart, right, that closing of the heart actually comes from a feeling of not being safe in your body, not feeling safe to express yourself and to feel your desires and your needs, and to actually feel that this world wants you to express your desires and your needs and fulfill them like basically does anything in nature, right? Express your desires so I can water you, flower, right? Express your gift so that I can enjoy you. That's us. We're nature. So when we block that, we mistrust the world, we mistrust our nature, and we don't allow for the sexual energy to rise, move through our bodies. And when it comes again and moves through our central column, that's where our heart opens to actually transmit, I'm here. I love. It is safe for me to love. It is safe for me to receive love. This is what I desire. It's not my ego. It's my heart. So therefore, it's the divine in me desiring this. It's a gift to me and everyone else. And I'm here to create it. Help me, right? And that is how we tap into what you were just talking about. That sacred intimacy is you and the divine. You can talk about polarity, right? Feminine and masculine. I play with that a lot. I use those terms a lot. This is not gender specific, right? But again, Tantra and sacred sexuality, especially. In Tantra, those words weren't even used, but now we use them, right? Sacred sexuality uses the feminine and the masculine, the two poles of this, right? This like experience of ourselves, which we need to experience ourselves, right? So my capacity to move that sexual energy through my body, feel safe in my body, express myself, speak my voice, sing my song, right? Be fully embodied in my love, right? Love for me, love, self-love, which is the love of all of me, including all the things I don't like, unconditional love, right? Compassion, we can call it Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, all of that, that's the feminine. Feeling, experience, embodied, right? Transmission of this is the truth of me, but it's practice. It's practice. It's like saying a flute in the corner can play beautiful music. I don't know. It's possibly out of tune. Nobody's played it for days and years. Maybe it's got, cobwebs or maybe insects inside of it. And do you have the music? Do you know how to read it? Like, do you know how to hold the flute? Like, forget, like, let's just start where, let's start. But here's the thing. It's all here. It's all available to you. Let's start where you are. So attuning your instrument. This is where I start. Attuning the womb, the gut. If you're a man, the hara space, right? This is your lower chakras. Your connection to your sexuality starts there. Learning to be safe in the body, working through shame, resentment, guilt, right? Any kind of violence you've experienced and may have absorbed through either your life or past lives, or, your mother, your father, like absorbing it into the womb, right? So all of that into your womb, but through her womb. So generations, right, of trauma that we might be carrying in parts of our bodies, especially, again, our gut and our womb and our tummy. And then moving up, right, and letting you learn how to channel that energy up and through your body, how to master it, not in a way of, again, trying to control it, but mastering it so that you can play your instrument, open your heart, feel safe in knowing the truth of your heart, and then apply it, transmit it, practice living that truth, embodying that truth in, yes, your immediate intimate relationship, right? Your desire for a partner, your current partnership, so that you could evoke that in your partner, right? That sacred masculine, the sacred feminine, right? That, again, the feminine is that with love, right? I love you. And then the masculine is that which is able to hold it, see it, guide it, right? So that we can have that dance in ourselves and then with our partners. And how do we want to play this polarity, right? How do we want to experience each other as whole beings, but whole beings that are constantly playing, right, with this pole of, ooh, you lead me here and I'm going to follow. And then I'm going to pull you here and you're going to come to me. And then we're going to resist each other a little bit. And then we're going to come into bliss and union and that cosmic orgasm of we're one, because we always are, right? But we need the play of I'm missing something, right? To actually desire it and then to experience it within yourself and then to offer it to someone else and receive it from them. So your experience in general, right? When you were speaking about sacred intimacy and how I work with people, your experience always determines what you are going to live out there. And it determines what kind of relationships you're building and cultivating, or saying, I'm done, and moving through and saying, I'm here for love and freedom and bliss. And I know that's true and I'm worthy of it, but it goes beyond the words. That, like mantra, whatever you want to say, becomes your lived experience through practice. And that's where your song is, that your practice every day is, my instrument is here to play this song so that I can then attract, right, magnetize that which will even more ground, empower me, right? Empower my body in knowing that this is the truth. I am worthy of love. I am here to love. I want and I am safe to give all of me. And that's what I'm here for. I want nothing but that. And without that, I don't want anything. Right. So that is the feast, right? You didn't come here for crumbs. You came to feast. You are the feast. What do you, right? So let's discover what kind of feast you are and let's share it. Let's give it and let's receive it, right, from other people, because essentially you're experiencing yourself, right, through other people. What you give is what you receive always. So that's the work. And again, it can apply, obviously, right? Business, financial abundance, right? Health, any kind of, again, challenges to do with our physiology usually comes, again, from energetic imbalances. Not a doctor, so anything I say, right, disclaimer. And back to the most important thing, your connection to the divine in yourself. Yes, you are. And then what do you want to create from there? Your turn.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love how you explain that. And it sounds like a very healing practice once you open up to that and you let that sort of be part of you and let that connection happen when you're ready. It sounds very, very healing for people. Now, you work with clients on sacred intimacy, on tantric sexuality. So do you want to let our listeners know a little bit about the programs and services that you offer so that they know how they could connect with you or how they could work with you and what they could expect once they want to work with you?
Yeah, thank you, Petra. Thank you. That's a very generous question. So I work with people online mostly. Although if my clients happen to be present physically where I am, then embodied in-person work is obviously incredibly powerful. So I work with people in a container of a year, most often. I do have shorter experiences. So what I do is really co-create a mystery school for my clients, right? So we will go where they need to go. I will create the curriculum, right? Whatever resources they need, whatever books they need to read, right? But really the work is experiential and it builds on itself. So the way that I usually invite people into the work that I do is connect to, again, what is their vision? What do they want? And again, most and every pretty much person that comes to me wants one thing. I want to experience self-worth, self-love, and a connection to God, right? That's it. And then I lead them through that mystery school of learning and looking at their shadows, right? Their whatever perceived limitations are, whatever is blocking them, learning to then integrate them, love them, right? Absolutely welcome every part of you, and then become the embodied expression of the truth of who you are. And that usually does take, a minimum of 6 months, if not more. And some people work with me longer than a year because it's an ongoing process of expansion, which will never be over. So I do have a program that I will be offering that is more short term. And so this is fun for me. And this is more of it's like a amalgamation of everything I've done, because it will be, it is a 3-month experience, 12 weeks into sacred intimacy and sexuality, specifically for the feminine. I do work with couples and men and women. So I will create whatever needs to be created, but this program will be for the feminine specifically. So for feminine identified beings. And we will be working with the dark goddess specifically. And the reason I want to work with the dark goddess as an archetype is because in Tantra, right, there's Kali, there are all these, again, deities, we can call them, but they're manifestations of energy, right, that allow us to feel safe and, again, trusting and in a way surrendered to the wisdom of our bodies when we start playing with them, when we start embodying them and learning how to discover ourselves as that instrument, right? So it's like I'm giving you a tune, right? I'm giving you the symphony we're going to play, and this is your role, and we're going to play it, and then you're going to play your own music, right? You're going to improvise, right? Once you learn the essential skills of this program specifically, we'll be working with our desires, right? This desire of the feminine for love, for connection, for embodied union, sexual expression, right? All of the darkest and deepest, I say the darkest and deepest desires are the greatest gifts you have. And actually, I'll challenge everybody here to tap into the thing that they're most ashamed to actually express as a desire. And no, I know without a shadow of a doubt, if they were to come to me and, I have a clarity call they can book to just talk more about how I can support them, but I have absolutely just nothing that will not let me see how that desire that you're so ashamed of is actually the manifestations in your body, like the many ways that you want to connect to the divine. So it could be a sexual desire, right? A vision. It could be a desire in the world. I want to create this, but I'm ashamed to share it. Most often than not, it's a sexual desire that we're ashamed of. It's shame is right there. Why? Again, the greatest power. So let's skew it and pathologize it. This is where pathology comes from. When we repress it, when we judge it, when we assume it's one thing and we don't know, it comes out, right? As pathology often. Either we just never acknowledge it and we suffer through not ever having lived the truth of what we want, or we feel, again, a lot of the time unworthy of it and feel ashamed for who we are and what we want. And therefore we attract things to reflect that, right? Why does nobody get me? Why does nobody feel like they, love me? Why does nobody know how to meet me? Because you haven't met yourself. You haven't felt yourself. You haven't loved yourself, which includes that darkest, deepest part of you. So this program will be working through that. And obviously, it involves shadow work, embodiment work, practices that we build on. So that 3-month containers, you go into the underworld, right? And you come out victorious goddess, right? And working specifically, yes, with sexual energy and desire and this capacity we have as the feminine. No offense to men have it too, right? But this is the feminine in all of us to manifest our desires when we are aligned, attuned, and absolutely, like, again, without a shadow of a doubt, aware that they are in the highest good of all. That's it.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful.
That program will be, thank you for asking. I am but it will be offered this spring. So I think when this podcast comes out, it will be launched so people can reach out. And then eventually it will become a course that people will be able to take, without my active involvement, so that they could experience this work on their own in a shorter period of time. And again, it would be a lot more obviously affordable and simple for people to do it in that way as well. So
yeah, that sounds amazing. And Sasha also has her own podcast called Being Brave, and you can listen in from your favorite podcast provider. And we will, of course, be linking to all of Sasha's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there for how you can connect with her, for her upcoming program, how you can listen to her podcast, and how you can connect with her if you have questions or if you want to take one of her programs or work with her. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into sacred intimacy as much as I have. I have learned so much in this time that we have spent together. So thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us, Sasha. Thank you for all this wisdom that you brought today and that you shared with our listeners. I so greatly appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. That was such a deeply nourishing and healing conversation for me. I appreciate you receiving and giving me so much of you. Thank you. You're lovely. I appreciate you.
Right back at you. And thank you so much for shining your light, and all the best with your workshops. You're in an exciting place right now. So all the best with that, and take really great care of yourself, Sasha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.